Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Megan, and this channel is all about the Immanuel approach, learning to become aware of the living, loving, interactive presence of Immanuel, who is God with us. And I am so delighted about this episode because I get to interview the man who is my beloved, my best friend of 34 years,
Indeed.
Nigel Burmester. I'm so grateful that you'd be willing to be interviewed for my YouTube channel. Thank you.
My pleasure. Glad to be with you.
I am glad to be with you too. So, why don't you start by telling me a little bit about yourself?
Well, I grew up in England, and in my family at home, church was a big part of life. And I think fairly early on, around the age of 7, I gave my life to the Lord, and I pretty quickly felt kind of a call into ministry, into sharing the love that I had felt from knowing Jesus with other people, with the world. Wanted everybody to know.
I love it. I love it.
And so, yeah, that call when I was 18 brought me to America, and that's where we met, fell in love, and I've been in ministry ever since, over 30 years.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing. So I wanted to know if you'd be willing to tell us, what was your first experience with Immanuel Prayer like, if you can remember?
Yes, I can. I think being married to Megan, seeing her journey with the Immanuel approach, exposed me kind of as a passive observer to the joy and the world that was opening up to her. Made me curious, and so it's probably been a year or two after you had found the Immanuel approach that you offered me a session, and I want to give this a try. And so I remember that first time, such a special time. I think one of the questions to get things started is you ask us to think of a memory, and especially special memory of a time with Jesus in our past to connect with. And for me, at that time, the memory that came to mind was when I was 7, and when the first time I asked Jesus into my life. Had a very, I mean, of all my memories, I think that one just naturally came to the surface as, if you're trying to think of the most special time, that definitely was it for me. And so quickly I connected with that memory. You helped guide me to remember that and what was special about that, what I felt in that moment, where I saw Jesus in that moment. And but then it quickly opened up. I forget some of the details of how we transitioned there, but what I do remember was I kind of had a telescopic view of my life. From that moment, seeing Jesus with me there, he kind of opened it up, and all of the major transitions, moments in my life, I kind of saw him present in a similar way, kind of walking with me, guiding me, helping me through different times, and then all the way up to the current moment. So it went from a 7-year-old Nigel to a Nigel in his 50s, but Jesus just as present, just as involved, guiding my steps and being with me. And it just, I don't know, it was powerful. It gave me a great sense of peace that he was with me and he'd been guiding me all along. And kind of that expectation that, because when you have that long telescopic view, you can see it going beyond your present day into the future and, you know, even beyond my life that he hasn't. And that was just an amazing sense of peace, and just gives you a lot of trust that he has you and that your life has a lot of meaning because he's guiding it, and you could trust him and walk forwards with peace and confidence. And so that's kind of what I remember from my first time.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing. That is so beautiful. I remember that moment. And I love the telescopic view where he just showed you this perspective that maybe you didn't have until that moment. So thank you so much. What would you say to someone who might be interested in an Immanuel Prayer session?
Yes, well, I would encourage it. It's been a very special thing in my life. I think maybe 2 years or so I've been doing this. Because I think what it's done for me, is it's opened up something new in my relationship with Jesus. Because I think if you, on one end of my relationship with Jesus, I have it's the me and him side, whether it be my personal prayer life, my journaling, my conversations with him. That's just kind of the one-on-one end. It's very individual based, and which I love, and it's very special. It always has been a very special part of my life. Then on the other end, I think about my church life, a more corporate worship experience, and so that's on the other extreme. So then somewhere in the middle there is where I see the Immanuel approach, Immanuel Prayer, because it has that intimacy of the one-on-one, but it also has the inclusion of a facilitator kind of guiding you in your interactions. So it's not just one-on-one, which I think has been a powerful, it changes something subtly, but it's powerful. And I was trying to analyze what that difference was.
Yeah.
And I must admit, I was a little skeptical to begin with, because I am quite an introvert by nature. So I think my first logical thought was, well, I can connect with Jesus by myself, and I do that all the time. Why do I need someone to guide me in that? And obviously, I don't need someone to guide me in that, so why would I want to open up to this or try this? But what I discovered, which was quite a surprise, and a good surprise, is that, let's see, how do I put this? I think what difference I noticed in Immanuel prayer times as opposed to my individual prayer times was the facilitator, the guide, can ask questions based on your conversation with the Lord, what he's saying to you, what you're seeing. The facilitator can ask questions that you might not ask by yourself, and take you to places in your conversation with him that I might not think of. I might just settle with what I'm discussing with him, and it goes only so far. But the facilitator can make you think about or make you ask Jesus things you might not ask by yourself. And it actually, I found, it opens up I don't know, pathways that you might not go down, and opportunities for healing and conversation and connection that's sometimes richer and deeper than I might get to by myself. So I found that was a beautiful part.
Oh, I love it. I remember you saying that recently to someone, and I thought that's like a soundbite for this channel. And so I just appreciate you sharing your experience, because I think it's so beautiful to hear from someone on the other side. I told my audience that I've interviewed some of the well-known names in the Immanuel approach. I want to interview people who've actually experienced these sessions.
Right.
And I think you just put it so beautifully. So thank you so much. And so, is there anything else you would want to share with my wonderful YouTube audience?
Well, I think just one of the thoughts I had about these times, and I think I probably mentioned it to you during the sessions, is it's such a beautiful place to be. When I'm in a session connected with Jesus and having this dialogue, being in these memories, it's I often say I don't want to leave this place. It's a place I would like to live and dwell in. And so that's a richness. And maybe a similar thought that kind of harkens back to what I was saying earlier about being in the middle between private prayer and corporate prayer is it has that intimacy of an individual conversation, but it's also, there's something about having that third person. It kind of grounds you at the same time in the real world and in other people. It's a tangible connection to your life, to the rest of the world. That I find it very helpful. It grounds things in a way that I find powerful. So I'm thankful for this being available and being a part of our life.
Our life. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Would you mind if I threw one more question at you?
Go for it.
So this question is, what have you noticed that the Immanuel approach has given you outside of these prayer times? Have you noticed anything about just normal life? Has it enriched normal life or given anything to you in normal life?
Yes, I think it has. What comes to mind is, because this opening question within the Immanuel prayer time of you invite the participant, how do you word it?
Yeah, so about the memory.
Yes.
Yeah, so we just simply ask the Lord to help bring forward an especially positive memory with no pain attached, where you felt loved, known, heard, appreciated, connection. It's where you felt that connection with yourself, with nature, with God,
Exactly. I think what I have noticed about that question, it kind of opens up my perspective to see God in parts of my life that I might not have been looking for him in.
Oh yeah.
As you know, one of my favorite things is to run, and I get to run the hills back here where we live, and often it's early in the morning, so the sun's rising, and I might, encounter the sunrise. I might encounter a deer, and often I do sense God meeting me on my run. And so then when we connect with this memory, often it's those moments. And I think to answer your question, I think what I appreciate is that I hadn't had before quite as strongly was now when I'll go out for a run, or I'll see the clouds or see the moon or things, I don't know, that we have someone that we listen to who talks about the world being numinous and sensing the presence of God generally in the world, and I think that's what it's opening up, and seeing the presence of God in more and more of my day-to-day life, and even spending some time actually in the moment, seeing him there and asking him what, and entering into conversation.
Yes.
In real time.
In real time. Yeah.
A little bit more, and sensing his presence. And sometimes when you see that beauty, or you sense his presence, I don't know, it just shifts your perspective of that moment, and just, I don't know, fosters connection with him, and can shift even how you're approaching the day, how you're feeling about the day, and
yeah, that's beautiful. It's one of my favorite things to ask you each time we meet after the run. Did you have any encounters? And that is a really broad question, because it could be creature encounters, or the glory cloud, as we call it, and encounters with Jesus. So yeah, thank you so much for me being able to throw a question at you that wasn't prepared. But I'm just so grateful that I get to be a part of your Immanuel journey, and just really grateful for your perspective, because I think it's so valuable to people out there. So, yeah.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. All righty, so well, thank you for listening to this joyful conversation with my beloved. And I would love to hear if anything resonated with you about what Nigel shared. Would you let me know in the comments? And so grateful for you, and blessings. Ta-ta. Bye.